What up, my geeks? Jeffrey Powers here from Geekazine, and today we are going to have a little bit of fun using a new product that I have, the DJI Osmo Pocket. We're going to live stream with DJI Osmo Pocket and a thing called Cosmostreamer, and then we're just going to add in a slider to it using the grip gear slider, which I have had in my arsenal for a while. I haven't figured out a good way to use it, and this is going to be a perfect way to use it. But this is going to be the feature right here. This is the DJI Osmo Pocket. As you can see, it's small. It's like a pencil small, and that is crazy because I can. Well, here's a nice little stylus pencil. You can kind of see the difference. You can see what it looks like there. So, but the whole idea is this thing is great for getting video. And it's axis stabilized, so you can move around your hand. Let's turn it on, and you can move around your hand, and this thing will stay in its position. Here, let me show you through the PTZ camera. So that's basically the gimbal, and of course you can do. There's a lot of features to it. We're not going to get into it too much, but we're basically going to show you how to take this and actually use it for live streaming. That was the first thing I wanted to find out when I put this all together was, can this be used for live streaming capabilities? And the short answer is yes. There's a lot of working parts in here, and we're going to get to all of those working parts, and we're going to start by going over to the web page that really makes this all possible, Cosmostreamer. This is over at cosmostreamer.com. And the idea is they have several different pieces of software for DJI software and other stuff. In fact, if we scroll down a little bit, they got the projects. Let's go to straight up to the projects. There we go. Products: Cosmostreamer for Osmo, Cosmostreamer wired light, DJI Go for Windows Mac, Cosmostreamer for GoPro, and then a super secret project. Now, he's been also working on some really cool stuff like the Osmo RC car and the helicopter camera. So that's pretty cool. But this software is really awesome because it lets you take this thing and stream it to whatever system you're using. Now I'm using Wirecast. That's the stuff you're not seeing behind the scenes. All right, let's get into this. Let's figure out, because you're gonna have some needs. You're gonna need to pick up some products here. So let's go through the whole list of everything that you need to run this software. What we need, first of all, we need the DJI Osmo Pocket. This is about $350, and I got a link down in the show notes how you can get it, and of course it supports the show, so thank you guys very much. Next up that we need is the Raspberry Pi 3 Model A+. Now this is very important because you might get yourself a Raspberry Pi Model B, which I've got one right here, and these are the popular ones, the B+, but we don't want the B+. We want the A+, because the A+ is the one that it works with, and I've actually tried it with the B+, and it didn't work. So trust me, maybe down the line they will have one for the B+, but for now you have the A+, and of course standard setup. It comes with HDMI, USB. It's USB 2.0 port. This is the latest version, and I want to point this out. This is very important on the specs. Make sure that you have these specs for the Raspberry Pi. This is the Pi 3 A+ model. It's got 512 megabytes of RAM. It's got 1.4 gigahertz quad core inside, and it's got the wireless 2.4 and 5 gigahertz wireless, and Bluetooth 4.2 low energy. We're not using Bluetooth. Like I said, single USB 2.0 port, full-size HDMI. Here's another factor to keep in mind. This system also allows you to connect up through the Cosmostreamer, allows you to connect up an RC module, so you can have a joystick for your gimbal and run the Osmo through a joystick unit. We're not going to do that part. We got too many working parts here, so we just want to continue on straightforward from there. So we're just hooking up the video and then giving it some separate stuff through the grip gear. So we have the Raspberry Pi, and once again, the Raspberry Pi 3A+. That's the one you really want to get. All right, let's move on. What else do we need from here? So we have the Raspberry Pi. Next up, you need an OTG USB cable. In a lot of cases, you might not have that cable, so you have to make one. So, and you go on Amazon, you're gonna find these little products everywhere, anywhere. So basically, it's USB-C to 3.0 USB. That's what you really want. And what that is gonna what's gonna happen there is that's gonna allow you to go into the USB port, and we're gonna use the bottom port in this case, and use it to send the signal to the Raspberry Pi. Next up, we need a USB Wi-Fi adapter. Now, this is actually going to be for the computer that you are using to control the software with. And especially if you got a laptop or a desktop. I had a desktop, and I thought I could actually go through my LAN, but you need to have the wireless for the A, because it's got one USB port, and that USB port is being used for the Osmo. So this USB adapter is going to be used to create the second Wi-Fi port, and there's a way to do it in the software. All right, next up we have the grip gear. Now this is, you really don't need the grip gear, but in this case, what we're doing is I'm putting it onto a slider to kind of have fun with the tracking system that's inside the Osmo Pocket. Yeah, this thing can track your face. You can hold it like this, you move it like this, you move like this, and of course the gimbal will move with it. So we're going to have fun with that by putting it onto the slider and kind of see what kind of reaction it gets. And then finally, the Cosmostreamer license. This is very important, because if you don't have the license, you're not going to be able to do this at all. So to get the license, fairly straightforward. What you do, and we'll talk about that in a couple minutes, because this is a whole process here that we go down. All right, first of all, what you want to do is you want to download the DJI Go for Windows or Mac. Now, this is the software that you're going to put onto your Windows or your Mac, and it's going to control it. I have it on this laptop right here, and I have it all loaded up, and right now it just basically says device not found. It's just sitting there waiting for a connection, and that's perfect. That's what we want it to do. So you go and you download this software and install it. Straightforward on the install, not a problem. With your Windows or Mac, you want to separate, of course, your Wi-Fi. And the Wi-Fi and this is why you need that USB dongle. The Wi-Fi for the Cosmostreamer in default is Cosmostreamer with a password of 12345. 12345. But you can change that, and we will show you how to do that once we get everything up and running, because the first thing we need to do is get it all plugged in. So we've got our Pi. There's a full set of instructions that you can go to, which I have, right here. Of course, you can, Cosmostreamer.com will have the instructions that you can go from. You can also purchase this, just so you know. He'll give you the A module. He'll get a license key for this. Of course, it'll all be preloaded and ready to go. And you can go over here with, I'll show you the prices here. $270 for just with a case, with a box, everything good to go. $150 for the license. He'll get that out to you. And of course, he'll also have, with that $270, he'll give you some support if you have it. But I've been talking back and forth. I'm very, very awesome group there at Cosmostreamer. So let's get this all connected. So we downloaded the software, and of course you download it onto a micro SD card. What you have to do inside the micro SD card, this is the next step, is when you have it downloaded and installed onto the SD card, you have to create another file called license.txt. This is where your license is going to be. Now, in order to get the license.txt, and we're going to go over the instructions to show you, when you turn on the Raspberry Pi without any instructions, on the bottom left-hand corner, you see a serial number. This is the serial number of the Raspberry Pi. This is what he needs to actually create the license file for you. So you basically give him the serial number. and then he'll send you off a serial number that you can use for your Pi. Now that you have that installed, you basically put it into your Raspberry Pi, and it's ready to go. So what we want to do is we want to hook up the cable conglomeration I have right here. And of course, I have the 3 cables, the USB cable right here. We'll plug that in. And then this is the USB 3.0 cable that's going to go to the device here, which I have sitting on the grip gear. I'm going to plug that in. And then finally, your USB power, 5-volt power. I had a cable that actually wasn't working because it was underpowering the unit, which is really weird. So, but anyway, just so you know, if you've never used a Raspberry Pi before, this is what it looks like when it's all connected. And eventually I'll get a case for this, and I need to get a heatsink for this because this takes up a lot of process. And then, of course, if you're going to hook up the RC controller stuff, then you'll be using these pins right here. But for this case, we're not going to be using that. So we've now got it all set up. So let's go ahead. So let's go over and let's plug this in. So here we are. We'll see it in a second. Definitely a lag. All right, so this is the screen. If you don't have the license key in here, you would see the serial number on the bottom left-hand corner like I was talking about. And then, of course, this thing would say that the telemetry is disabled and no video found. And the other reason why you're not seeing it here is because I already have the Go hooked up through the laptop. So let's bring the laptop back into play here. And, of course, it's saying device not found because we haven't set up the device. But the Wi-Fi is found, so now I have my Cosmostreamer set up in my Wi-Fi. We're going to see this. It's going to say telemetry disconnected and video disconnected. And that's what we're expecting to see because it's not ready. But it is connecting with the Pi. So if we right click here, we're actually going to see this thing that says box settings. And we're going to go down here, and that is going to give us where we can do our firmware upgrade. We got the Wi-Fi. We can choose which one's going to be our Osmo, which one's going to be the network connection. We can change the Wi-Fi username and password, and which mode we're going to use, 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz, and go from there. We've got video audio quality. We can disable the video stream to viewer. If we needed to display this HDMI mode, we can do multiple ideas here with the horizontal flip. You get the idea. We have the RC inputs, and like I said, we're not dealing with that, so we're just going to pass over this really quick. And then, of course, a restart for rebooting the box or restarting the firmware. So other settings in here, we have overlays. There's going to be overlays on this thing once we have it turned on. The disable Osmo connection mouse move control, if you want to use the mouse to move the gimbal or not. Connection settings, camera global settings, and restreaming settings, and of course saving screenshots. So that's that. Now we're ready to connect up the Osmo to our system. Now I have it over on, like I said, I'm doing this by using the grip gear, and I have this. Let me just pull this up really quick. All right, got the grip gear here, like right here. It's a basic slider that's meant for your phone, your iPhone, your GoPro, and the Osmo Pocket. Before we do that, we have to make one adjustment to the Osmo Pocket, and that is the dongle right here. As you can see, I got the Lightning connector dongle on here, but this needs to be inverted, or otherwise this will not work. So what we're going to do is we're just going to snap this out, turn around, and put it in. Just like that. It still works that way, so there's no problem. But it will not act as a video distribution system if this is out, because it's going to try and push the video from here to like your iPhone or something like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it right into the cradle here, and then I'm going to turn this on. All right. Well, last night after that part, everything just kind of went south from there. And that's all about the project and how that all works, because this is all experimental. This hasn't been done before. And so we're learning a little bit about it. And one thing that I learned was, well, this is a really nice adapter to get. It's basically a USB-C mounting adapter. So on the bottom, you can mount it to a tripod, and on top, you plug in your USB-C, so you can plug in a USB-C from the side. It's a 2-in-1 adapter. So there's a USB-C right on this side and on this side. And when I plugged this in, it did a decent job, but apparently it was flaky. And I was going to talk about how flaky it was. When I took this piece off, totally changed the landscape on this to a more doable thing. Now, the problem is that means I have to use the USB-C directly from the controller. So in order to do this on the grip gear, which is the next piece here, I actually had to tilt it a little bit. Let me show you what I mean. So this is the grip gear, the slider, if you want to call it that. We have, let's focus that a little bit. There we go. We have the unit actually tilted at an angle, which is perfectly fine, because when you connect Osmo Pocket to like a Phantom drone or a Mavic or something like that, it'll actually be like this instead of like this. So it's perfectly fine to be tilted at an angle. And the reason why I have it tilted at an angle is because that USB-C controller, USB-C adapter, and then of course the USB-A cable is right back here. And of course I needed to tilt it forward so it would plug in. Now you can get an OTG cable that actually is an adapter with a regular cable, small cable, and then of course it'll adapt to a USB A type plug from there. But yeah, you can check that out. But this still works, and I had a lot more success by doing it this way. So now let's finish this up. So we talked about putting this all together. Last thing we talked about was the Raspberry Pi and putting it all together. Let's see what this looks like with all of that together. This is my Osmo Pocket from the slider, from the area. And now it's fixed right now. So when I start using the slider, that'll definitely start changing the game here a little bit. And what's really cool is that with this change, now we'll have some movement into it. So I'm going to, and with the grip gear, you can actually get with a remote control. But anyway, I'll take it up to the highest level and then go like this. And now I have a slider, a fixed instance slider. The gimbal is still being a gimbal, so it's stabilizing the picture and giving me a nice stream as it's going. Now, because this is on a Pi, we're doing a third party, there might be a touch bit of latency, but I'm noticing, in fact, I'll do this. We're going to switch this over. So my main camera, and this is my secondary camera. We do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You might see a little bit of slowness to the second one, but it's not too bad. I've also hooked it up to NDI, and you'll see little glitches like that, but I'm not exactly sure how that glitch is happening, if it's the cable, because the cable's now being moved with that, or if it's just the fact that the Pi just doesn't have enough to do everything with the movement. Because when you start moving something, you're now sending more data across video. Like for instance, if I just stood here, if it was just this static image, like the one in front of me, the camera in front of me, all this stuff in the background can be kind of said, okay, that hasn't changed, so we don't need to mess with it. Now we're putting in a moving object here, and with that, that's moving the whole landscape. And it can't just say, okay, it's static, but we're moving it over, because it doesn't think like that. All the glitching, once I took this little puppy off right here, this little bugger, it changed immensely. And before I was saying, well, it's a great idea, but it's not useful. Now in this case, especially if it might be the cable connection, all of a sudden we might have something that's a little more viable for live streaming. And even if we don't use it as a continuous slider, we could actually put this on a slider, position the gimbal, and then position the slider, or reverse, actually position the slider and position the gimbal. So if you're running like a panel or something like that, then you can position the Osmo Pocket to where the person is going to be, and then you can make the shot from there. That's a video thing here nor there. But the other cool thing is with this software, let's flip over to the software on the laptop here. With this software, I can control it in many ways. I can do it as a mouse. So if I take the mouse, and I don't have a scene set up here. So if I do it like the mouse, I can move this around, the gimbal around. As you can see, the gimbal's being moved around by me. If I set the tracking on it, now the gimbal will move when I move. And what's really cool is now with the slide, and of course, yeah, that is definitely gonna start causing more issue, because now you've got a lot of video data that has to be sent back and forth. So you might have some hiccups from there. But for the most part, if you have stable somebody just talking like this, not moving around too much, but moving around enough so if it needs to do some adjustment, it can. Then all of a sudden we have a solution that can work as a slider, a streamer, and a tracker. And if you don't mind those little glitches every now and then that's thinking that's part of the video experience, then hey, it goes from there. The only other problem that I have with this is every now and then the system will freeze, and it doesn't happen too much. And I think once again it might have all been because of this little bugger right here. But it hasn't froze since then. I was a little concerned that it might have been a little overheating from the Raspberry Pi. I did order some heat sinks for that, and they're coming in a couple days here. So I'll test it with the heatsink to see if that happens. But with this, at the resolutions that we're at, 30 frames a second, pushing through into a streamer, I could see somebody using this, and as the software and hardware continues to develop, we might have a really awesome solution for a slider with the Osmo Pocket and going into a stream. They just have to figure out how to fix some of these small little glitchy type things. So I slowed it down a little bit so it showed a little bit less glitch. Now you get the idea of how this works and how well this works, because with minus the little glitches that we've had, the stability is pretty decent for this test, and being able to do something like this, and all of these items could literally fit into, well, the Osmo Pocket fits into your pocket. The slider itself, the biggest part on this whole rig is the fact that I have it on 2 tripods. But with the slider itself, you can actually set it on a table or set it on the ground or anything like that, and then run video that way. But of course, you can put it on a tripod. So everything could fit into a very small backpack. So there you have it. We have a proof of concept, taking an Osmo Pocket, hooking it up to a Raspberry Pi 3 A+ board, very important, downloading the Cosmostreamer software, getting the Cosmostreamer license, and then hooking it all up. And like I said, there is a way you can actually put in the RC control through the Raspberry Pi, but you can also use the app, the Go app, to do that as well, and that works really nice, and I can really have a great image passing through once I have this connected up into maybe a multi HDMI hookup or something like that, or maybe NDI. That is it. That was the DJI Osmo Pocket with the streaming capability, using the Cosmostreamer and then putting it on the slider, the grip gear slider. I hope you enjoyed all that. If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. If you're on YouTube, go ahead, like, subscribe, and comment. Hit that bell notification for the next cool video coming out from Geekazine. We're going to have a lot more how-tos. We're going to have a lot more interviews, lots of CES action, NAM action, NAB action. So stay on this channel and keep geeking out where we love to geek out, right here. So you guys geek out and take care.